Good day. It is Rob Folia with Folia Properties at Keller Williams Realty here in Nashville, and I wanted to come to you live today because I figured it's time for another "Would I Buy It" episode, and I wanted to spotlight a property that showed up in my one of my email alerts for one of my clients. This client has specific tastes in terms of rental properties. He owns a couple of properties in Clarksville, and he looked for things just like this: 3 bed, 2 bath, and kind of very similar rental property characteristics actually that I like. And so anyway, just wanted to dive into this one here, 311 Arbor Court, and let's see if it would make sense as a rental. Right off the bat, before we even look into anything, just 185 is their asking price. Selling as is. I know this one came back on the market here today. Is why it showed up in my inbox. It says home does need a little bit of work. Let's just scroll through some pictures, look at some numbers, and evaluate. Does it make sense? Brick front. That's always a plus. Gravel driveway. That's because you still sometimes see that in homes built in the '90s in Clarksville, so that doesn't necessarily raise any flags. Not for me anyway. Right off the bat, just looking through some pictures, carpet looks like it could maybe seen some better days, but you never know. It could be shadows in pictures. I mean, that just shows up sometimes like that. When I see things in a listing like as is, home needs some work, it usually tells me there's a couple of things that need to be done. I mean, you have to really see the property in person to evaluate what the extent of the work is. However, so far everything's looking really clean. I mean, it might just be some simple cosmetic projects. It's a little TLC, which is normal. I mean, seeing some red handles here, that's a unique finish right there. Might be something, again, something that's simple that would need to be done and changed. But I mean, as a whole, from what I'm seeing, we can see right here probably needs some paint work. Um, see some here as well. Maybe some mismatched paints. I might try touching it up at some point. But overall, I mean, I'm thinking it's looking like it's in pretty good shape here. Again, needs some trim work. So yeah, it probably does need a coat of paint. And hey, that's all right. I mean, that definitely is par for the course for a potential rental. Deck looks like it's tough to tell from just the one shot. Looks like it maybe it's seen better days. Hopefully it's in good shape. But just say hypothetically, this is it. It's mostly cosmetic work that needs to be done. What's it going to rent for? Again, they're asking 185. This one right here, I only pulled up Zillow. Zillow, for all its faults, does usually have a pretty accurate rentals estimate. Hey, if I'm buying this property, if I'm looking at this property as a potential rental for myself, not just going on Zillow and looking at the rental estimate, I'm pulling comps, I'm doing all that. Same for clients. I'm looking at what actual rental comps say. But for just purposes of our video, let's just say 1350 because that's a good jumping off point. So 1350 for rent amount, and I've already plugged in the numbers here for a mortgage calculator. Putting 25% down. I plugged in 180 for home value. I have not comped it out. So 185 could be a perfect number. And yet at the same time, seeing the as is, seeing that it needs a little TLC, hopefully get them down a little bit, maybe even less than that. But just say 180 is the numbers from an easy round standpoint. 25% down, loan amount 135. I plugged in an 8% for a rate. Didn't pull it up prior to our video. But Freddie Mac, for the week ending last Thursday, 6.4% was the 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Again, typically you're looking somewhere around a percent and a half higher for an investment loan for a 30-year fixed rate. So just something to keep in mind. Eight's an easy round number, so we'll plug that in. Already plugged their taxes in, $1,200 a year. I just plugged in $1,000 a year for homeowners insurance, and we're at basically $1,175 for a principal and interest payment. So let's look at the numbers. Would I buy it? I mean, knowing that it would need a little TLC, I'm going to take that out of it because everything from what I can tell from the pictures, it's just cosmetic. I mean, even just scrolling through here, I'm not seeing rotted beams here. I'm seeing it probably needs a good pressure washing. It probably just needs a little bit of cleanup and TLC, some landscaping. All that stuff's cosmetic from what I'm seeing. So if there's something else that would need to know about it, that would have to be discovered throughout the process. But would we buy it? Let's see. Let's look at the numbers. So let's see. Plugging in 180 for the market value, 25% down, rental amount 1350. It's at 0.75. It's not hitting the 1% rule. But as we've talked about in some of these previous videos, the 1% rule is, while a great number to strive for, the reality is in our current market, that's tougher and tougher to find. Especially for something that's a little bit more turnkey, like I like. Maybe for finding something that needs a lot of TLC, not just some paint and carpet, but needs a lot of work. Like I could pull some others and find those for you. But maybe those were getting a little bit closer. But 0.75 to me is a number that might make sense. And here's why. Again, principal and interest payment, 1175, 1350 for the rental amount. We can see it with cash flow, even with property management expenses of just plugging in 10%. You can see I did not put anything in here for vacancy and repair, mainly because it's kind of an unknown still in terms of what, the age of the roof, the HVAC, all the above might look like. And yet at the same time, we can see right now it's turning a profit of $40 a month. To me, it'd be very borderline, and it would just depend on the buyer. Like for me, because this is called would I buy it? That wouldn't be enough cash flow for me. Great property, and it's definitely a possibility for a lot of investors that are out there. Because there are some investors that are currently just looking for a place to put their money, and they're not looking to pay down other debts or maybe pay off other investment properties they own, and they've got 25% down. So what, $45,000? They've got that sitting aside, ready for that next investment. Definitely could make sense, because especially if interest rates were to drop sometime in the next, just say in the next couple of years, and instead of it being an 8% rate, say they could refinance later and get a 5.5% rate. Well, all of a sudden you're looking at $950 a month. There's another couple $100 in cash flow. On top of that, rental amounts just increase over time. They just tend to. I mean, that could change. Who knows over time? But at the same time, they absolutely tend to rise around here. That just is what it is. And so, point being, it's something that cash flows. And so, if I'm an investor, that's checkbox number one. Hey, it's got a cash flow. So this one is a profit. That's a great thing. For me, it's not as much profit as I'd like to see. Ideally, I'd like to see this be, closer to what the numbers would look like if that was that 5.5% rate, 950 a month instead of 1175, because then I've got a little bit more of a buffer. I've got a couple $100 extra a month that I'm plugging into this vacancy and reserve that's allowing me to turn over the property in between tenants if I'm needing to, or fix something major that pops up, because something will pop up over time. If you own a property long enough, you need to replace the roof at some point. You need to replace the HVAC, the water heater, all the above. And so because of that, for me, this wouldn't be enough. However, for some investors, it will. Again, to me, that we've got to, in this market, adjust our criteria just a little bit every now and then. And at the very least, though, make sure this is profitable. This one is. So again, that's a good thing right there. If y'all have any questions about this particular property or any properties at all, feel free to give me a shout. Happy to help however I can. 615-238-7578. You can also email me, info@foliaproperties.com or rob@foliaproperties.com. They both come to me. And anyway, until next time, appreciate y'all checking this out, and we'll talk to you soon.